Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Sean's Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate everybody. I've seen the numbers going up a little bit again, so everyone that's subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, all the things. Thank you all so very much. I do appreciate it. Today, I'm excited to welcome back my friend Mike from Mike and Serial. Mike, thank you so much for coming on again.
Hey, thank you so much for having me again. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk Terrifier 2. Thanks so much.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And do you remember? I had to go back and look at mine a minute ago. Do you remember? Because you were on back in October of last year when we talked about
Yeah.
Terrifier, so it's been a little bit. Do you remember what you gave Terrifier on our on my 1 to 10 scale?
If it was 1 to 10, I do not remember. I want to
Okay.
say it was probably a 5 or a 6.
Okay. Okay. That might be right. I remember I think so. I went back a while ago and looked at my notes so I could see because I gave it a 7, and I was thinking that I was a little higher on it than you were. But I also remember as we were talking about it, we were both like, maybe I like this movie more than I thought I did. Like we were talking about that
Yeah.
quite a bit, going through it. So I couldn't remember exactly what you gave it. Um, Definitely interested to hear your thoughts on Terrifier 2. But before we get into it, go ahead and take a minute. I know you're very busy. You've got all kinds of things that you're involved in and do. So take a minute to promote all the things that you're working on.
Thank you. Yeah, so I do my own stuff on Mike and Serial on Instagram and TikTok. So I just do kind of some short movie reviews. Gonna try and do some other things as well. I'm also on Rise from the Dead podcast, where we go ahead and dissect hidden gems, older movies, stuff that people may not have heard of. And then I am one half of Voices from the Mausoleum, where we do a bunch of different things, but we really like to focus on our found footage Fridays, where we pick a found footage movie that we have not seen or maybe have seen before, and we dissect that film as well. So that's basically what I got going on for now.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, very busy, a little bit of everything. But yeah, if you don't already, I feel like anybody that watches my channel is probably already familiar with you and what you do. But if not, definitely go check out Mike. Watch Voices of the Mausoleum. Follow Mike and Serial. Yeah, check out all this stuff. A lot of good stuff out there. So, yeah. Today, Mike and I, then we're going to get back into Terrifier. We're going to talk Terrifier 2. Um, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and jump right into this. So let me put my glasses on real quick so I can read my own notes and we'll get started. But quick tagline for the film was just "Who's laughing now?" Brief synopsis for Terrifier 2. A year after the Miles County massacre, Art the Clown is resurrected by a sinister entity. Art returns home where he must hunt down and destroy teenage Sienna and her youngest brother Jonathan on Halloween. As the body count rises, the siblings fight to stay alive while uncovering the true nature of Art's evil intent. The film had its premiere at Fright Fest in August of 2022 and then was released in theaters October 6th of 2022. Written and directed by Damien Leone, produced by Phil Falcone, cinematography by George Stuber, music by Paul Wiley, distributed by Cinedigm Iconic Events Releasing, 138-minute runtime, so long, a budget of 250,000, box office of 15.8 million. I'll briefly mention some of the cast here, and then I want to get your thoughts on some things. David Howard Thornton, of course, returning as Art the Clown. Laura Rivera, Elliot Fulham, Sarah Voigt, Kaylee Hyman, Casey Hartnett makes up the prime members of this cast. So let's stop there, Mike. Let's talk about your thoughts on. Let's start with the cast and the characters.
So I really enjoyed this cast. I have mentioned on the last episode that we did. When I originally started the Terrifier series, I was not a fan of this series at all. And then for a different podcast thing, we were going over Terrifier. I rewatched it and I started liking it more. And then with you
Yeah.
rewatching Terrifier, I really realized that I liked the first one a lot more than I thought I did. And then we get to this one because what I do think we both might have agreed on a little bit was in the first movie, there was a little bit of lacking in the character department. Like, obviously, Art was great.
Right.
The lead that didn't end up being the final girl we were hoping she would
Yes.
be was also really good. But then I think there wasn't too much character development for anyone else.
Right.
In this movie, they really fixed that. because
Yeah,
they focus not only on art, but they gave us what to me is a true final girl that this franchise needed. Because we did talk about the fact that where a lot of people don't, when they don't like this movie, they do bring up like that it might sometimes they feel it's a little bit misogynist, and I did kind of understand where that was coming from.
sure. Yeah,
Have a character like Sienna to battle that like brutality towards women in the first one. So I'm
right.
really excited about Sienna. I thought Lauren Lavera did a great job, and I really liked her brother as well. Was
Yeah.
is his real name Elliot or Lucas?
Uh, Elliot is what I saw, but
Yeah.
maybe it's Lucas, and I didn't see that. But yeah, Elliot is what I
No,
saw.
yeah, Elliot. I keep forgetting like his real name and his
Okay.
name in the movie.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I really enjoyed him as well. I like that they, for him, there was a lot of character development because when we first meet him, he's a little like they're making us think that he's kind of creepy and
Right.
he has some weird tendencies that when we think of like people that might end up being in Art the Clown, he's kind of
Yeah.
resembling this a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he progresses throughout the movie. I thought the side characters were really more fleshed out than the side characters in the first movie.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed pretty much all of the portrayals of these characters as well. I thought this was a step up in the acting department.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that. And I think I agree with you. You know, the one problem, and like you said, we talked about it in the first film. Liked Art the Clown a lot. I loved Art in the first movie. Um, I'm a huge fan of Jenna Cannell, and I thought she was great as Tara in the first movie. And I hated that she got killed. That just really bothered me in that first film. And I know we talked a lot about how she basically had to for the way this story was going to play out later, but not knowing that, when you see the movie for the first time, that really bothered me. And I remember when I watched this one for the first time, I went in not sure what to expect because I was still so frustrated that they killed off Tara. I'm like, I want Tara in this movie, so I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. But as it played out and I got familiar with the Sienna character, um, got even more excited about her than I was Tara from the first film. And I agree with you. I think everybody does a great job. We do get much more character development in this film than we did the first one. Um, yeah, and I think that everybody did a fantastic job. I think the movie's well acted. What about your thoughts on like the cinematography, the score, and the story for this one?
So cinematography, again, we are it's a step up.
Oh,
Everything is
absolutely.
like leveling up in this movie with stuff like cinematography and score. I thought it was shot beautifully, and that's never really been an issue with this franchise, but I definitely think
Yeah,
it got better in this movie. I really enjoyed the score, and I'll kind of be talking about that throughout little parts too, because there were
yeah.
things that I really liked and things that, because I love the score so much, I wish they did some setups a little bit differently.
Okay.
Uh, and then story wise, I am happy that we have a more fully focused narrative in
Yeah,
this movie. A
yeah,
very big step up from the first. Again, I do think there was a story in the first. It was just really hard to find it.
yeah.
And
I
then in
agree.
this one, it is perfectly set up, beginning, middle, end. There is a fully fleshed story. There is still a little bit like things that are kind of up in the air, but again, I think he knew from the get go that this was going to be a multi movie franchise.
Right.
And so he wanted to leave things open, and I appreciate that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't think it was too loose that you're like, no, we needed to tighten it up more. I think it was done just well enough to get us to the third movie.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Again, I think, like you said, everything is a step up. I do think the score is really good. Very curious to hear your thoughts on some of the things you said you were going to share as we go through. I like this story as well. And I like The first one was pretty basic. I mean, the first one was really just your basic, slasher movie with some extreme kills. I mean, that was really all there was to the first one. We definitely got more of a plot and a story here than what we got in that first one. So I agree with you 100%. Let me ask you, let's get something out of the way, because I know this is a lot of people that I hear talk about this movie. The biggest issue that they have with the film is the runtime. This is a really long movie, and it's odd to me because I don't necessarily think it's paced bad. I think the pacing is fine. It's just long. There's just a lot of it. I feel like, I've seen it probably 3 times now. I guess is how many times I've seen this movie. When it first came out, again, I rewatched a little bit later, and then now a couple of days ago to prepare to do this with you, and watching it this third time, knowing how long it was, I'm like, what could they have taken out? Like, as I watch through this, I kind of want to keep an eye on maybe what could have happened to reduce this, and I don't know, because I feel like it all comes together pretty well. It's just long as hell. So I don't know, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I can answer for you,
Okay, perfect.
because so that was a big gripe I had when I first saw this, and I was like, this is unnecessarily long. There is no reason a slasher needs to be close to 2.5 hours long.
I agree.
Like, that's ridiculous to me. And that was part of the reason why, like, I hated this movie when I first saw it. I don't hate this movie. However, I still have the same feelings of it is a long runtime, and the problem for me is it is unnecessarily long, because I can find a lot of places where we could have shaved off time. One in particular I know we'll get to.
Yeah.
It's a thing that people love that I would cut, but
Okay. I might know where you're going.
for me, the issue is, and when you rewatch it again, pay attention to, because this is a problem and it's throughout the entire movie, each scene, every scene, no matter how small the scene is, stretches 1 to 2 minutes longer than it needs to be, just on like, it's gonna focus slowly on something that doesn't matter. It's like the camera surfacing around the room for a little too long. It was just, there were so many shots that I'm like, we can end it here. Let's get to the dialogue. Like, there was so much silence in this movie in between scenes, and that could have been chopped up. Now, the problem too, though, is I do kind of, in that, they always have the score, and the score is so beautiful at giving you tension without anything happening. So it is like, I guess you would kind of cut that a little bit, because I do think that the score is so effective, and in those silent moments you are listening to the music. But I do think each individual scene in this movie was stretched out minimum or about 2 minutes longer than it needed to be.
Okay, no, that's a good observation. I'm glad you said it that way, because that makes sense to me, because I don't feel like there's any complete scenes in the movie that aren't necessary. But yeah, looking at it that way, where every scene though was just too long, so it's not go back and really just take this part out completely, it's just trim up multiple parts. And you could have had something. So I'm glad you put it that way. That was a good way to look at it. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I still felt like I said, I do like this movie, but I felt that, again, I feel the runtime every time I watch this. So yeah, but that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I'm glad you put that way. Just a couple of production notes I'll mention here real quick. So Damien Leone had the concept for this film, for this film, shortly after filming The Ninth Circle back in 2008, and had the idea then of this angel-dressed heroine, but it kind of all fell apart and never came together. After the first Terrifier film was released, Leone wanted to bring that character back and spent 3 months writing the character-driven screenplay, primarily focusing on Lauren Lavera's character. And Leone has stated that the Sienna Shaw character is his favorite character that he has ever written. So, we were talking a while ago about much more character development in this this particular movie much more character driven. I think we see that being his goal right off the bat. He went back, like I said, and spent 3 months just focusing on writing characters. So yeah, I think that is a big part. It definitely shows in this film.
And that's
One
a
thing,
big statement to say that your favorite character you ever written was Sienna
yes,
when you wrote Art the
when
Clown.
you created art, yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that surprised me a little bit as well. I had to go back and read that again. I'm like, did I just read that right? But yeah, that was what I read. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, interesting. But she's a great character. But yeah,
Oh
that
yeah.
is when you've created Art the Clown, who's become such this huge icon. Um, yeah, that is a big statement to go back and say Sienna is your favorite character you've ever done. But I feel like though that not completely. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that know who Art is that have no idea who Sienna is. So I don't want to say they're on the same level, but I think Sienna Shaw is incredibly popular. Um,
Mhm.
the I collect some things. In fact, I was going to show real quick. I meant to do it at the beginning. Being a collector, I like to show some different things from my collection whenever I talk about a movie. So these were both gifts. I picked up this little pale girl Funko Pop. Somebody got
Love
me
that.
this, and then they also got me the Art the Clown. He's on the tricycle Funko Pop. So these were given to me not long ago. I wanted to show them when you and I were talking about this. But um, where I was going with that is uh, one of the places I go and buy some of the collectible things that I get. Um, I went in and because I had heard that they had a Sienna Shaw figure, I think it was like a Toonie Terror or something of Sienna Shaw, and I might be wrong. It may not have been Toonie Terror, but similar to that. And so I went in there to look for it and could not find any. And one of the workers that come over and asked me what I was looking for, and I mentioned it, and he's like, "Yeah, we ran out of those like the first day." And I was like, "Wow, okay." So yeah, she's pretty popular among people that are in our community.
Oh yeah, and like I do agree that Art the Clown is bigger in pop culture than she is. Like
Right.
non-horror people will
Sure.
know who he is, but in the horror community, Sienna Shaw has rise to such fame in Final Girl status. Like
Yeah.
they put her up there with your Laurie Strodes, your Sidney Prescotts, and
Yeah.
she hasn't been around long. It's just, but
Right.
again, when you spend 3 months making sure you're writing a character perfectly to fit your vision, it truly showed. And Lauren Lavera's portrayal of that character really just amped it up.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's where I was going to go with that, and you said it is. Lauren Lavera does an amazing job here, and she seems like I haven't gotten. I'm hoping at some point to get the opportunity to meet David Howard Thornton and to meet her, but from just things I've heard and things I've seen on social media, she seems like such an amazing person. Seems like she
Yeah.
would be incredible to meet. Um, but yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because my friends Kelly and Sarah over at the Final Girls podcast, they talk about a lot of, if anybody, I definitely recommend going and checking out their podcast. They talk about a lot of classic Final Girls, but they just recently did an episode talking about Sienna Shaw and how big she is now and how, amazing she is. And it was great to listen to. So yeah, you're exactly right. In the horror community, she's huge. And a lot of that I think is Lauren Lavera. But um, one thing I read that I thought was kind of funny, but in establishing an adversary for Art, so as Leon was working on this, he drew inspiration from the relationship between DC Comics Batman and the Joker, as kind of where he was getting the Art and Sienna dynamic going on, which I thought was interesting. And then the only other production note I'll mention in the post-credit scene, he originally had Art growing out of the back of Victoria's head. But due to Malignant having a very similar setup, which had come out, Leon discarded his original thoughts and then shot another sequence where Victoria gives birth to Art there in that mid-credit scene, or to Art's head in the mid-credit scene. So, yeah, kind of interesting, I thought. And I think it's gross, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the plot and start walking through this one a little bit. So we get our opening scene with they're in the hospital where Art basically is stalking this coroner. He does end up killing the coroner, takes one of his eyes, he beats him with a hammer, rips his head open. and then heads over to the laundromat, and we get introduced to the little pale girl and find out that Art also ends up killing a guy there. Give me your thoughts on this opening scene, the interaction with the opening there, the killing of the coroner, and then Art and the little pale girl.
So the scene itself is done very well. It really highlights what is Terrifier, the franchise's strongest suit, and that is the practical effects and the goriness of this
Yeah,
movie. The kills are exceptional.
right.
The comedic kills are, or like the comedic relief within these kills are amazing.
Yeah.
Like he's playing with the eyeballs and stuff. Um, and I do like the sequence between him and the little art girl. Um,
Yeah.
but here's going to be my first controversial take on
Okay.
this movie. It was unnecessary. It was just there to start off the movie with like a crazy opening kill kind of thing. And I feel like we could have shaved that off. I do like the interaction between him and the little girl in the laundromat. I think maybe we could have started there and had that one kill with the guy because we know he's going to come in with a body bag. We know he's probably killed someone. We don't, we're, you don't have to spoon feed us that part. So,
Sure.
and then we could have still kept that little bit of the laundromat scene because I think with the tone of this entire movie, I would have loved to start it with the next immediate scene
Okay.
because that music was a great start. Like that, I love that synth music. I
Right.
loved the way it set the tone for the new character. Like, and I guess we'll get into that later or next too. But like for to say with this particular scene, while I love the kills, I don't think it was a necessary scene.
Yeah. Do you think and we get her, a little bit here and there throughout the film. What are your thoughts on the little pale girl character? Do you like her?
I love her look.
Okay.
And so this is about the third or fourth time I've seen this movie. And I've had people tell me their theories and what they've heard and what she is and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I cannot for the life of me tell you who she is, who she's supposed to be, like her importance. Like I don't mind her being there. I just don't get her.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. And I mean, I've heard theories and I've tried to do some research there myself. I think from everything that I've heard, she is almost like the ghost of one of Art's first kills, a little girl that he killed, is one thing that I'm understanding. But I've also heard, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much into the third film yet, but then she's not, unless I forgot something, she's not in the third movie. But I was told by someone that it's that same spirit that's the little pale girl that ends up possessing Victoria, and I'm like, is it? That throws me off a little bit because I'm not sure. I need to go back and watch the third one again because I don't remember anything ever hinting at that. And I'm kind of with you here. I mean, if she's the evil entity, and this is just the look that's prompting Art to keep doing these things, then okay. But I don't think it's ever explained very well. So the little pale girl is a little bit of a question to me too. Like you, I've heard all kinds of theories. Some I'm kind of like, okay, I could see that. Some I'm like, no, that makes no sense to me at all. But I wish we would have got something to explain it a little bit. But then again, at the same time, we don't need to add more runtime to this film trying to explain that as well. So I don't know what I want there, but I'm kind of with you. Um, like you, I like this opening kill with he in the corner. The laundromat scene is fine, and I know that's where we get the introduction to the little pale girl. We don't see him kill the guy there. We just see the body afterwards. And
Yeah.
I just don't know, for me, if the laundromat scene was even necessary at all. It's fine, but okay. I think maybe we could have just had the opening of him killing the coroner and escaping and then go from there. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So from there, we get our intro to Sienna. She's preparing her Halloween costume based on this character that her father has drew before his before he was gone. We also meet Jonathan. We find out that her brother Jonathan is obsessed with Art the Clown. We meet their mother. We kind of get the brief introduction to Sienna having this sword. We get more about Jonathan and him searching Art and maybe being obsessed with serial killers, that kind of thing. Some things that you were talking about at the beginning. And then that night, Sienna has a dream about the Clown Cafe where Art appears. There's some kind of goings on there where everybody seems to be applauding and cheering Art, but then he ends up giving Sienna a box with a heart in it. He also gets a gun then and starts shooting everybody, sets some things on fire, including the singer. Sienna is able to get her sword from this box, and then she wakes up to her costume and her dresser being on fire. Give me your thoughts here on this whole Clown Cafe scene, this introduction to these characters, Sienna's costume, Clown Cafe, that kind of thing.
So like I had mentioned, this is where the movie truly starts for me.
Okay.
I think because of the whole tone of this movie that we shifted from the first, where the first was about Art the Clown. Like
right.
There were the other characters, but we know that the focus was Art the Clown.
Sure.
In this particular one, the focus is the story of Sienna and her brother.
Right.
And then obviously Art the Clown too, but I would have liked to start it here because I think the music was a great start. I think introducing this new character would give us just kind of like we're not starting with Art, like what's going on? And it just introduces us to her because I think this was a great introduction to her. I think it was a great introduction to her brother, Elliot. And then right then and there, we get introduced back to the idea of Art the Clown.
Right.
So they tie it right back. So I think the movie could have started there. I do love that they set her up pretty well right off the bat. We do already kind of see some strength in her, and it's kind of mirrored in the costume that she's making. It's this big her heroine type of costume. So obviously we're kind of seeing that she may be someone important. And then we get to see the creepy brother, and they talk about his weird tendencies and like something's not right with him. Why is he so obsessed with this stuff? And I think a lot of it's slightly relatable to a lot of people because I think at some point people fixated on those types of things just because it was such a counter to what we're told as kids. Like we're only told the good things.
Yeah,
so when you're
absolutely.
then seeing like these serial killers, you're like, you get fascinated.
Right.
And then hopefully at some point you start to normalize your thoughts on it. But I think in this age group where they have him is good. And I like all of that. My controversial take number 2.
I'm waiting on this because I had a feeling this is where you were going.
I hate the Clown Cafe.
Okay.
Oh my God, I hate the Clown Cafe. I hate the Clown Cafe. I hate the Clown Cafe. Now, I could be incorrect because I didn't do the Indiegogo. I was not into Terrifier when they were like doing some setups. But I think this scene, the Clown Cafe, was like a campaign reward, was it not? Like
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And here's the issue. If they did that campaign reward to have people in the movie, that should have been limited to like 5 people. Because this movie is, I want to say it's 2 hours and 18 minutes or 20 minutes. I forgot what we said, but it's close to 2.5 hours.
Right.
This is where you shave off 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
This scene was ridiculously long. And yes, we get some crazy fun kills. We get some good visuals. And I will say more so, we get good visuals more than kills because they're not real kills. This is a dream sequence.
Right.
And I hate kills in a dream sequence because it's like, well, that's technically it's not a kill.
Yeah, it's a waste.
But it just went way too long. I didn't care about this. Like, I know this is an iconic scene. I know this is what Terrifier 2 is to so many people. Oh my God. This is why this scene specifically is why I don't think I could ever love this movie.
Okay.
I can enjoy it to an extent, but this scene kills my buzz so early in the movie, and it's hard to recover from.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. And I'm so glad to hear you say that because I actually feel 100% the same way as you do. I
Good.
just haven't said that before. So, yeah, I feel like this scene is way too long. There's way too much going here. And the fact that it is a dream means that none of it, for the most part, really even matters. And so, yeah, it's a kind of I almost have a love hate with this scene because I do think it's fun for the most part. Yeah, okay, there's some interesting kills. I think Lauren Lavera's acting here is fantastic because she
Yes.
legitimately seems terrified with what's going on. Um, so there are things about it that I like, but there's just way too much of it. It could have been a 5 to 10 minute scene and been very effective, and instead it kind of drags on. And I can see somebody being taken out of the movie and maybe having a hard time reeling it back in because it's just so much. Um, yeah, there's just too much. I agree with you 100%. I do have a question for you about Jonathan, the brother again here, because I agree with you 100% on what you were saying about this is somewhat relatable for people because yeah, you see people that get fascinated. You know, Netflix keeps putting all these. They had their little thing about Jeffrey Dahmer. They had it about Ed Gein. They did it about a few other people, and people seem to love this stuff. And true crime podcasts, I think maybe they've calmed down a little bit, but those things were blowing up for a while. I mean, that's what everybody was listening to. So I think people do get pulled into this world pretty quick. And like you said, hopefully people can then kind of level out with it and not go too far. But I think it's somewhat disturbing. You know, when we get to Halloween and you see people dressing up like Michael and Freddy and Jason and Art and some of these classic characters that are movie characters, I think that's great. When you see people dressing up as Jeffrey Dahmer and Ed Gein, that concerns me a little bit for our society.
Yeah.
That's kind
I'm
of
with you there.
concerning. Yeah. So, but the thing I wanted to mention here with Jonathan is because we really kind of set him up here as somebody who has become uh, incredibly obsessed with this stuff, and then I feel like that gets lost somewhere because there comes a certain point once Art starts doing things that we never go back to that. I mean, yeah, we have the scene at the school where they accuse him of being the one that kills his possum, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But I feel like that part of his character just completely disappears about halfway through the film, and that's odd to me. Does that bother you or not necessarily?
So it doesn't fully bother me. I just think we could have fixed this up a little bit more because I do believe that that made sense for his character if they wanted it to go this way because yeah, he was obsessed. He had the fascination, but there's always those people who like something that's very edgy and then immediately collapse when they're too close to it.
Okay,
Um,
that's a good
and
point.
I just don't think we had a good segue in his obsession to holy crap, maybe I'm not cool with this.
Yeah.
It happened too quick.
Okay.
They jumped because, and I want to say, I think they should have done a better job here with his character because, I mean, again, we're kind of jumping slightly a little bit ahead,
Sure.
but
It's okay.
I didn't fully feel invested in the weirdness of him when we did get to not the Art and the possum, but the kids and the possum.
Right.
That's where I kind of lost a little bit of his character
Okay.
because given what they were giving us ahead of time,
Right.
he shouldn't have been so uncomfortable.
I agree completely. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that's I agree with what you're saying though. I can see how he would get too close to it and then pull away. But like you said, I don't think we got that build up. And I agree 100% because that was my thought exactly. In fact, I think I made a note here. If that's what he's into and he's obsessed with art, and he does mention like Jeffrey Dahmer and some other people back in a conversation with Sienna and their mother, if he's really that invested in all this, he would have been more. I mean, he still might have thought it was gross, but he would have been more interested in the possum too, like the other boys were, instead of so
Yeah.
standoffish. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying there 100%. So I do think, as great as I think this movie is with the character development, um, I do think it lacks a little bit with Jonathan, but I think it's great with Sienna. So yeah, that's kind of my take there. But I'm glad we agree on the clown cafe scene, because I really thought I was probably the only person that felt that way, and so I just wasn't going to say it. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I'm
same.
glad you agree.
I'm happy that this was. I will always say that, but I always am like, am I in the right space? Is this going to be a
Yeah.
longer conversation? So it was really nice to hear you go, oh, you feel the same way. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, it's not
100%.
just me.
Yeah, and I think I felt that way more each again. The first time I watched it, I don't
It's
remember my
interesting.
exact feelings, but I'm like, yeah, this is interesting. This is good. It's just by the time the movie's over, I'm like, man, that was a long movie. And then when I go back and do the rewatch, I'm like, this is going on too long. Like this particular scene is going on way too long. And then when I watched it again the other day, I'm like, damn, everybody loves this, but this could have been about 5 minutes and been so much better than what we just got. So yeah, I'm with you
Yes.
100%. But from there, we cut to Art. He's preparing some of his weapons. The little pale girl is there. She's watching clips of this interview with Victoria. We get Jonathan in this whole dead possum scene and dealing with the friends. Felissa Rose makes an appearance, which I think is great because I love Felissa Rose. Um, we then see Art and the little pale girl playing with the possum, and Jonathan is the one that ends up getting blamed for it. Some of Sienna's friends are talking about Victoria killing the talk show host, and Sienna kind of has a freak out moment there. And then we get another pretty classic scene where this film is concerned that I actually do really enjoy, and that's when Sienna and Allie go to the costume shop, and Art is kind of terrorizing and harassing Sienna in there. Um, and then, of course, Sienna ends up leaving, and Art kills the cashier. Give me your thoughts here on this. We've kind of already talked about Jonathan and the possum, but let's talk about the costume scene. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, with the costume scene, I really enjoyed this one. Again, there's like those long lingering shots that kind of been trimmed up just a little bit, and that's going to be my thing. Like with every scene, there's always that little bit that could have been just trimmed up a little bit. But what I really like about this scene is we start to now, this is the second movie, so we start to build on who Art truly is, like his characteristics, what we expect of him now.
Right.
And I think it starts with this movie in this scene, because this is a parallel scene to the pizza parlor
Absolutely.
in the first one.
Right.
Uh, you get like, he's silly. When you're watching it, he's a silly, silly person. It's
Right.
a silly character that we're not necessarily terrified watching, but now you put yourself in a real situation where you are Sienna, and you know that there really was an Art the Clown
Right.
killer, and you have someone that you think is a creep dressing up as him, and they're just being creepy towards you. Like, then it is a scary situation.
Yeah.
But for us, it's slightly the comedic relief that we need, and it's still kind of creepy. So I
Right.
love that that's where like we now get to see who Art is, and I kind of compare it to, there's a particular point in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise where the first and second movie are a little bit darker in tone before
Yeah.
we get to Freddy, and the Freddy that, it's funny because most of us think of, when we think of Freddy Krueger, we think of his one-liners, how charismatic he is, how
Yeah.
funny he is, and that doesn't truly really happen until the third movie,
That's true. Yeah. 100%.
and then we start to see it happen more and more. And that's where like I draw that comparison back into this movie, where this is Art's Freddy moment of, okay, now we see his personality. Because the
Yeah.
difference between him and Freddy is Art doesn't talk. Art
Right.
is the Michael Myers Jason version of Freddy. He's still
Yeah.
silent, but he's got
Very good
so
way to
much of
put it.
Freddy's personality.
Yeah.
Um, so I really like that
Yeah.
scene.
That's very good. I like that comparison. Yeah. And I agree with you 100% again, because my note here was that this is a mimic of the pizzeria scene, but this is done better. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. It's just like that, but it is done a little better. We get deeper into art, and again, my other note here as well, not to overstate this, but I love Lauren Lavera's acting here because again, she seems legitimately horrified in this costume shop with the things that he's doing, and when the cashier steps away for a minute and Art's right up there beside her, and he's got the horn and just doing different things. Like everything about her looks so scared.
Yeah.
So I think she does incredible again here, and then we get a pretty good kill. With Art killing the cashier,
Yeah.
and kind of the scene where the mom and daughter try to come in the store and it's locked, and they just think it's a setup in there. But yeah, I do like the scene. I can see what you're saying where they might could have trimmed a couple of things off it as well, but for the most part, I really enjoyed this scene. And so for me, um, like I said, I can see how somebody could have got taken out during the clown cafe scene and have a hard time getting back in. This does get me back in. I like this scene well enough that it pulls me back into it because again, I like what we're getting from Art. I'm loving Lauren Lavera's performance, and yeah, this scene works really well for me. So it does kind of help get me back into it from there. Um, from here, we cut back to Jonathan and Sienna. Jonathan's kind of showing Sienna some of the pictures that he's come across of Art and victims and that kind of thing in their dad's sketchbook. We kind of start to get some of that story unfolding and what's going on there. We also see pictures of Sienna in this costume. We get one of the craziest kills, in my opinion, in horror movie history, where Art arrives at Allie's and kind of toys with her a little bit through trick or treating, and then gets in and just does all kinds of things to her. We finally see Sienna's costume. She gets it all finished and she gets ready for Halloween. And yeah, so Sienna's dressed up. She's going to party and have a good time. And Art is tormenting, doing all kinds of things to Allie. Give me your thoughts here on Allie's kill, but at the same time, what we're getting from Sienna at the same time as she's finally got her costume together and she's
Yeah,
ready to
I'll
go out.
start from the beginning of that part with like Sienna and Jonathan. Thank
Yeah.
you for keep saying Jonathan. I kept calling
Yes.
him Elliot.
That's okay.
Sienna and Jonathan, um, they're seen together, and this is kind of what we were talking about. This is where we fully drop Jonathan's obsessed character
Yes.
traits because now he's fully freaked out. And I get it because he had the run in with the little girl and Art the Clown and
Right.
the
Back
dead
at the
possum
school.
thing.
Yeah.
So I get that kind of scaring him. But again, because he was uncomfortable with the possum scene, like there is no slow drops of him losing that creepiness and obsession with the murder
Yeah.
and
There's
stuff.
no arc. It's just like he's one way and now he's another. It's just straight boom. It
Yeah, he
changes.
went
Yeah. So
too
I agree.
quick to like this because now he's obsessed, but in the opposite way of like, no, something bad's gonna. He's like scared for her. He's saying something bad's gonna happen, and it was just like that threw me a little with him. But then I love the way that they interact together, like real brother and sister.
Right. I agree.
And then we move to Allie's kill scene, which in this particular case, starting from before he even kills her, when he's just in front of her doorway, this is where, yes, it's a long scene, but it's done so right.
I
They
agree.
made use of each moment in this scene because,
Right.
again, we talked about the personality of Art now. He's messing with her. He's got
Yeah.
the trash bag full of toys and he's messing with her. And
Yeah.
then finally we get a kill that just I understand why there's like two things that I hear when it comes to this kill, and it's one that you said like some people think this is one of the craziest kills in horror movie history, and
Right.
then you have some people who, in a negative way, think that this is one of the most brutal and unnecessarily brutal kills. And I think the reason why I personally am on the side of this kill is crazy in a good way.
Hmm.
The reason why I can somewhat see what people are saying to an extent is because it is a little on the mean-spirited side because he kept going and going.
Right.
Once we got to the salt, I'm like, okay, yeah, like we're we're now going into overkill.
Yeah.
However, I'm enjoying this, and I think this particular kill in this movie is special. It really is the standout kill of the franchise, and that's for the fact that we had a great one in the first movie.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what makes this kill for me and for a lot of people work better, and I mentioned this in the our last episode, it only works because we have a Sienna. You
Yeah.
don't have Sienna in this movie or a character like Sienna, then yes, this is a mean spirited movie. But we have Sienna as our heroine, and it just really makes you okay with this type of kill that just, and it keeps even after, because then the mom shows up. Like, it
Yes.
just kept going and going. And
Mhm.
I originally, in this, my first experience was like, I didn't get the love for this kill, but I think I was over this movie
Right.
by the time we got here. Um, in the rewatches, I'm like, I understand the love for this scene now. Like, I
Yeah.
really do. It is special. So I enjoy
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think I'm with you there as well. I do like the kill. And I get what you were saying about some people, and how brutal and just keeps going it is. I think part of the reason it doesn't bother me, there's two reasons. One, I think we are continuing to get into just how relentless Art is. We're just continuing to see what he really is. Um, and then I think, I've always said, and I don't mean to make light of this at all, but if you saw the first film and you saw the big kill from that one, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, I've always had anytime I hear people who watch primarily slasher films and then complain about the kills, I'm like, then why are you watching these movies? Like, what did you think Jason was going to do? What did you think Michael was going to do? What did you think Art was going to do after we watched him saw somebody in half from, the
Yeah.
groin to their head? What did you think was going to happen? So, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I somewhat get it. I do think, like you said, having the Sienna character um, does help, does make a little bit of a difference. Um, Again, it's a very long scene, but I do think it works. I think if I'd have dropped anything here, it may have been when the mom came in and saw it. I mean, again, I realize the effect there, but I'm like, okay. And somehow Allie's still alive. Like, I don't know how she was still alive when the mom came in to see at this point, but okay. I mean, she lost a lot of blood. I don't think there's any possible way that girl would have been alive, but yeah, okay, that's fine. um, from there, we get to the Halloween party, and we do a lot of cutting here and there. We've got Sienna at the Halloween party, and she's dancing, and which she looks amazing in her costume. We also got Jonathan and his mom kind of having some issues there, where his mom's just kind of over thing. Their mom is not a nice person. I really don't like the mom character in this movie. We haven't talked much about her, but not a fan of her. Um, she ends up ripping all these sketches up. Jonathan calls her a bitch. She slaps him, and so he takes off. And then we kind of cut back again to the party. And so we're kind of going back and forth here a little bit. Sienna's friend Brooke spikes Sienna's drink, which completely blows my mind. What kind of friend is that? Um, Art ends up shooting their mom in the head, killing her. So kind of a lot going on here in this next little bit. But I enjoy getting to see Sienna here and this side of her where she's trying to, snap out of it and have some fun and enjoy herself. Unfortunately, her drink being spiked had something to do with that. But yeah, any thoughts here as we deal with this between Jonathan and his mom and what goes on there, and then Sienna at the party? Anything that stood out to you or you want to mention?
Yeah, basically, kind of, I'm gonna echo what you said. I disliked the mom in this movie, and I think it made her kill so much more fun for me. Because even I kind of skipped over this in our last little part regarding Sienna and her costume.
Right,
When she wants to show it off, nothing about that costume gave sexualized to me.
right,
And the mom was like, "Oh, Halloween's all about sex. Halloween's all about like being
yeah,
this and that." I'm like, I see an amazing outfit. Like,
right,
yes, it's slightly revealing, but like it's not sexual. It's in the same way like a cheerleading outfit.
Right.
You're not sexualizing that outfit. It's what it's for. This was just like really well done. She seemed like a heroic character. And then if you know that her dead father wanted to make this for her,
Yeah,
like
through this, yeah.
how you how you then saw it as sexual is weird to me. And
Yeah.
then the way she never gives Jonathan any grace. So I was happy when she got shot, and I thought it was a brutal shot.
Yeah,
That's actually like one of my favorite kills because I like subtlety as well. Like
sure.
it's funny that we're calling something like that subtle, but that's how these kills go in this movie. That's
Yeah,
probably one of the most subtle kills.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
yeah,
then
because I like the
yeah,
way it was done where she's cleaning the car and then, she sees him in the car and then that's it, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying there.
and then yeah, I would never call someone my friend if they spiked my drink with drugs without my permission.
Yeah, I
That
completely agree.
I was floored by that. I don't like stuff like that. It didn't take me out of the movie, but like I
Right.
really hate things like that because that is real things that people do. But for that to be your best friend doing that to you was wild to
Completely
me.
agree. And I kind of feel about that like we'll talk about it next, but like take Halloween for example. When you've got Lori and her friends and like Annie primarily, you don't want Annie to get killed. After this scene here where Brooke does this to Sienna, I'm like, yeah, Art needs to kill Brooke. This chick deserves to die. Like, she's got to go.
Yeah, I had no problem with that.
So Sienna sees the little pale girl at the party as well. Jonathan gets home and finds the mom's body, but then Art is able to capture him. We get a little bit of a chase there before Art's able to drug him and take him. Um, Jeff, Brooke's boyfriend, is driving Sienna and Brooke home, but the little pale girl is able to call Sienna and imitate Jonathan's voice and kind of lure them to this carnival, in particular, this Terrifier attraction. We then get Art killing Jeff, chasing and killing Brooke, while Sienna's looking around for Jonathan. And yeah, let's. What about Jeff and Brooke's kills there? Any thoughts on those or the what's going on here in the carnival as we're setting
I
up
mean,
the?
I'm happy that they died
Yeah.
because they're over here like I you drugged her, I drugged her, and I'm like, I hate this. Both of you just die.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously his kill, being a male myself, uh,
Yeah.
it's a harsh kill for
Absolutely.
because you definitely don't want to be stabbed down there as many times as he
No.
was.
Yeah.
Uh, but what I will say for this whole entire scene and the back and forth that we were getting a little bit before that, this is where the movie does amp up in a way that I do like because we get a lot of
Yeah.
chase scenes. It makes up for
Absolutely.
the rest of the movie. There is so much chasing going on with Jonathan and then Brooke. So I had a good time here. I liked the kills. Again, happy that the last three kills, the mom, Jonathan, or not Jonathan, but
Yes.
Brooke and her boyfriend. I'm
Yeah.
glad that they got what they got.
Yes.
But I enjoyed this part. And then there's something I didn't like as we go on, because then once we get into the Terrifier and everything that's happening, Sienna looking for Jonathan, and then all that, there's a little thing that I had an issue with. But here, I loved the pacing. I loved the chase scenes. We had a good time.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Um, Sienna ends up finding Brooke's body. We get kind of a battle there between Art and Sienna. Here's one of the knocks I've heard about this is that we kind of get this battle off and on here for the next little bit between Art and Sienna. I've heard a lot of people talk about how long this particular scene is where they're going at it and battling, and so I'm curious to get your take there. But Sienna gets knocked out. Art has to chase Jonathan down again, so we've got more of the chasing here before Sienna arrives and saves him. We get another round of Sienna versus Art. Again, Jonathan getting in trouble and Sienna saving him again. We get the scene where Art is whipping Jonathan, which is brutal. I think that scene's incredibly brutal. And then he whips Sienna some. She's able to turn that around and just gets a hold of the whipping starts whipping him before getting a gun and shooting Art. Um, let's stop there for a minute and let me get kind of your thoughts here as we're going through this, this part of the finale and these battles between Art and Sienna. Did you think this drug on too long?
Well, I will use what you just said as part of my answer.
Okay.
The parts of the finale. So yes, this
Yeah.
went on long because I feel like this finale had 3 acts in itself.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
this again with the clown cafe and little bits here and there, but this particular scene and the clown cafe, you shave this and you have just under 2 hours, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I would have been fine because we did have a good story. It still would have been on the longer side, but that would have been I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
This scene, and obviously you want a good battle because here's
Sure.
the thing, I don't want to have the Halloween Ends Laurie Strode Michael type battle
Absolutely.
where like it was just an afterthought.
Right.
However, this was a Shakespearean play laid out in so many parts that I'm
Yeah.
like, Sienna, can you figure this out? Otherwise, I'm rooting for you to die because I just need someone to bite the bullet so quick right now.
Yes.
Um, but it was enjoyable to an extent. And yes, the whipping scene, I honestly think that probably was the most uncomfortable thing for me to watch in this movie
Yeah.
because that also went on long.
It
Like
does.
he was being whipped really good and for really long,
Right.
and it was brutal. It was
Yeah.
hard to see.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Both he and Cena both got it pretty good. I agree with you 100% here that it's like 3 parts to this finale because it could have been wrapped up. And again, I agree with you. I don't want anything ever again like what happens there with Halloween Ends and that whole anticlimactic battle that we got. So I like the fact that there's more here. It's a good battle. It's got some fun to it, but it just feels never ending. And there does come a point where you're like, okay, let's wrap this up. So I'm with you there. Art ends up stabbing Sienna with this sword, where she then falls into this portal. She's chained up in water. She sees the whole clown cafe thing again, and basically it seems like dies for a moment. But then the sword resurrects her. She finds Art biting Jonathan, which I thought was kind of odd. But then Sienna's wounds start to heal, and she's able to finally get the upper hand there and stab and decapitate Art before her and Jonathan then get to have their moment. The little pale girl shows back up and takes Art's head. It kind of gives a hint that we're going to have something else happen, and then it doesn't. She just takes the head and leaves. So yeah, the final part of the finale here, where she finally gets the upper hand, and did you enjoy the ending after it drug out for so long, or by this point was it kind of too late and you were just glad it was over?
I was glad that it was over, but I did like the ending of this battle because there is the beautiful shot of her getting the final shot in and then decapitating him. I love the look of it. It really like puts the fine point on who she is in this movie and who she's gonna be in horror. Like
Right.
this immediately I love the third movie, and if they chose not to do the third movie, I still think Sienna Shaw has the same icon status that she does because of this movie and that final point of the shot of her decapitating him.
Right.
I will say the critique that I had was the time, how long it took to get to here. But the only other thing, and this is for the whole entire movie or franchise, you get a little bit told throughout, but I'm gonna need this 4th movie that we get to tell me more about these portals, more about the connection of everybody, because I'm still a little lost on the plot. I know that this plot was so much better, and I love the storyline of Sienna, but now I'm just like, you're introducing a lot of little side stuff that I'm an impatient person. I need to know now.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense.
But I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like this too. I was like you, glad that it's over, but I do like the way that it wraps up. And I agree. The portal thing, I for some reason I had forgot about the portal in this movie until I watched it again the other day. We have it in three, but I had forgot that it kind of somewhat happens here too. Only she's kind of in this water thing. Um, yeah, I would like some things wrapped up as well, and I keep hearing that that's what we're going to get in this fourth one that's coming. But overall, I enjoy the end, and I agree with you 100%. I think this cements Sienna's character, regardless of what was to come in three or what might be coming down the road. Again, I love the character of Sienna Shaw, and I think Lauren LeVere is amazing. What did you think about the mid-credit scene where we cut to the uh, Miles County Psychiatric Hospital? We see Victoria again. She's writing all over the wall a lot of obscenities, but she's also writing Vicky plus Art and in her own blood. And then she basically gives birth to Art's head, and we see her eyes glow, similar to the way the little pale girl's eyes were glowing, which is where I think people are getting the theory of the little pale girl is this entity, and originally was taking the form of one of Art's previous victims and now has possessed Victoria. I feel like that's where that's coming from because of the eye glow. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the mid credit scene?
So I have a lot of quick thoughts. One, a personal thing, I'm just tired of seeing Chris Jericho in horror. I need him on my TV screen. Uh, but
You're not a
two,
Jericho fan.
I I I have a thing with Jericho because he used to be one of my favorite wrestlers. I just
Oh,
think
that's
he
so
doesn't
funny.
know when to let things go.
Okay.
And in horror specifically, even when I was a fan of him, I'm like, I don't like you in my movies.
All right, fair enough.
Um, but with Vicky, I enjoyed that we went back to her. And then obviously when we get into three, because like Vicky at this point, the Vicky that we're getting isn't fully fleshed out yet. So
Right.
seeing this is exciting. It gets you like, oh, well, what if they're showing this in the mid credit? Like, are we getting more of her? So you get
Yeah,
excited.
sure.
Back to your theory, or the theory that you've heard, I kind of get that. But the only thing that throws me when you're going to say something like that,
Hmm.
then it makes no sense why we didn't have her in the first movie.
I agree. 100% agree.
So that's my thing on that. But yeah, I enjoyed the mid credit scene.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Because I thought the same thing. To me, that almost works. If the little pale girl is the entity that's brought Art back from the dead and has him doing these things, and now that entity is gone from the little pale girl to Victoria, that works with the minor plot hole of where was she in the first film. So I completely agree. And again, I've heard that somewhat explained as in the first film, Art's just he's just a person. He's not. He's just a serial killer, just doing his thing. And it wasn't until the second one that this takes over. But you would have thought we would have got something at the end then, though, with the little pale girl or something to kind of bring that together, because that just never happened until the laundromat. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, something kind of a miss there. And I am looking forward to rewatching three again because I saw three in theaters and absolutely loved it. So definitely looking forward to talking about that one with you. But um, so anything else you want to mention then about Terrifier 2? I'm going to ask you a question about Chris Jericho, but I'll wait. We'll finish talking about this first. So anything
No,
else you want to share about this one?
I think we covered like all of my parts of this
Okay.
movie.
Okay. So on the scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Terrifier 2?
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of cheat here, because the way we talked about it, I kind of have to.
Sure.
Uh, for the movie as is, I'm giving this a 5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
Um, it You take out the clown cafe scene, and this jumps to an 8. This is a really good. This is a good movie that has an issue with the runtime and the unnecessary scenes.
Okay. I completely get your point because I think I know I agree with you. It doesn't hurt my rating quite as much. And it's funny because, like I said, I gave the first one a 7. I do enjoy the first one. And I gave it a 7. Um, Initially, I was going to give this an 8. So it's funny that you said to me that this would be an 8 if you take out some things. Because it's too long, I can't go as high as an 8. The Clown Cafe, just a few other things here and there. There's a few minor things about the movie that bother me, but they are pretty minor with the exception of the runtime. It really bothers me. But I love the Sienna Shaw character so much, and I love Lauren Lavera's performance so much. I love how much more we get into art that the runtime hurts it. It just doesn't hurt it quite as much for me as it does for you. I can't give it an 8 because of that runtime, but I'm going to go right on par with what I gave the first one, and I'll give this a 7 as well because I enjoy the movie. I think it's a really good movie. It just could have been a top-notch movie if we could have trimmed it down a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt it quite as much for me as it does for you, but I definitely see that. I think maybe I'm just obsessed with Lauren Lavera, so it helps, but that's okay. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely want you to, we've already talked about it. You're going to come back here hopefully soon. I'll be able to get that scheduled and you'll come back and we'll talk about Terrifier 3 from here. But real quick, and I was going to wait and ask after I record, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you this too. So you're a wrestling fan?
Yes.
Okay. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about this. I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid, and then stopped watching for a while until my boys my youngest brother loves wrestling. And then as I had kids and my boys started growing up, they got into wrestling and I started watching it again with them. After they grew up, I quit again. And then just recently I've started watching it again. In fact, I've been going back. It's so funny, and I'm sure no one cares about this, so sorry, but I've been going back on Netflix and watching like old Royal Rumbles and old WrestleManias and stuff like that I see on there sometimes when I have some downtime. But Chris Jericho. Jericho's fine. He was never one of my favorites, but I will say the bit that he did for a little while where he had the list.
Yes.
And he kept telling people that they just made the list. That used to crack me up so much. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I loved that, and I kind of hated it when that stopped. But other than that, yeah, Jericho's fine, I guess. Not that big a deal to me. But so you liked him as a wrestler, but don't want him in your movies.
Correct.
Okay.
Like when he went over to AEW is when I kind of stopped being a fan. Not that I'm not anti AEW. I'm just anti people overstaying their welcome in wrestling.
Got it. Makes perfect
I
sense.
think what was great about him, and especially I love that you brought up the list because he had a great way of reinventing his character. Even from like when they took him away from the main title stuff and they wanted him in the mid card, he knew how to make that work for him.
Right.
The list is probably in my favorite character things that he's done. I think it was one of his best work.
I agree.
But then I kind of just when he made the switch and it's like, you're not the Chris Jericho you were. Like, it's like when Ric Flair wouldn't give it up, and it's like, don't ruin your legacy by going longer than you need to.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And we might can talk about this some more off the air, but I think that is kind of that's a problem in the wrestling industry, is a lot of guys stick around way too long. But then I think they just get lost without it. Like, they have no idea what to do anymore in life. Not all of them. I mean, you got some that are still very successful afterwards, but I think a lot of guys just don't know what to do once their time is done. And so they just keep popping back up, which is kind of sad, but anyway. All right, Mike, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much again for coming on and talking about Terrifier 2. I can't wait till we get to talk about Terrifier 3 and get your thoughts there. So again, thank you so much for coming on. Go ahead and take a moment again to promote your channel, talk about anything you have coming up that people should watch for.
Thank you again for having me on. I was excited to come back, and I'm excited to talk about Terrifier 3. Again, everyone, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, where I do some reviews and probably some top 5 lists, things like that, at Mike and Serial. You can also find me on Rise from the Dead podcast, where we talk about older, obscure horror movies. You can find me on Voices from the Mausoleum, where we do Found Footage Fridays every Friday, where we dissect found footage films. And that's kind of what you can keep up with. That's what I got going on for the foreseeable future, specifically Fridays, we'll always have something going on. I guess I can talk about it a little bit because someone did put out there in their story, but I am producing a short film with some friends of mine.
That is
The
exciting.
film is called
Congratulations.
Maniac Sock, with the Bitter Wolf and AJ, who is the writer and another producer on it. And yeah, there will be updates regarding that in the foreseeable future.
Very cool. Congratulations. That's so exciting. Yeah, I can see you and Isaiah the Bitter Wolf being amazing. I mean, Isaiah's been on several times and he'll be on again very soon. Uh, yeah, that's so much fun. So I'm definitely excited to see the updates and see what all you guys have going on. Here at Sean's Horror Corner, let's see. Brendan from Our Life in Horror will be back and on with me again here in just a couple of days, and we're going to be talking about Scream 6. We finally are wrapping up that franchise. He's been on a lot lately. We've been trying to get through Scream before the new one hits theaters. So we are wrapping that up here in just a couple of days. He'll be on to talk about Scream 6. Trying to think next week. I feel like there's a lot happening, but I've got episodes coming on. I'm finally going to do an episode on Companion from last year, a film that was a huge, pleasant surprise to me on how much I liked it. I'm also going to be talking about the classic Return of the Living Dead. That's coming up. And then Isaiah from the Bitter Wolf is coming back to continue the Texas Chainsaw franchise. We'll be talking about part 3. So yeah, that's what's coming here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Leave me some comments today. Let Mike and I know what you think about Terrifier 2. Do you agree with us that it's a great movie, just way too damn long? Or do you have some other issues with us? But, leave your comments. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, hype, comment, share, do all the things. Follow me on social media. Thank you again, Mike, for coming on. Thank everybody for watching. I'll be back in a couple of days with Brendan. I'll see you soon.